Hello, and welcome to DK Vine Done Slow. I'm Hyle Russell, and welcome to Donkey Kong Land 2. As you can see, it's basically Donkey Kong Country 2. This is the second Donkey Kong Land game, originally released September 1995, as I always like to point out, the very same day the Nintendo 64 came out in the Americas. Donkey Kong Land 2 also came out. I got Donkey Kong Land 2 on that day, while everyone else was getting the Nintendo 64. I didn't get the N64 for several months later. But Donkey Kong Land 2 is the sequel to Donkey Kong Land, but it is the odd duck out in the series. Let's be honest, it isn't the full-on sub-sequel that Donkey Kong Land is, right? Donkey Kong Land acknowledged the events of Donkey Kong Country, and it created this wholly separate adventure between Country 1 and Country 2. Donkey Kong Land 3, while it didn't adhere as strictly to this is a follow-up to Donkey Kong Country 3, it still carved out its own place in the canon. It had its own plot that, again, it didn't mention Donkey Kong Country 3 in the manual, but you can very easily see how one would lead to the other. The character of like Kiddy Kong was already established, and various elements were already in place. Donkey Kong Land 2, from the way it's presented in the manual and the marketing, it's just Donkey Kong Country 2. It's like the events of Donkey Kong Country 2 never happened. And that creates an interesting, frustrating continuity challenge for me, the self-appointed lore master of the DKU, because Donkey Kong Land has its place in the timeline. Donkey Kong Land 3 has its place in the timeline. Donkey Kong Land 2 is just Donkey Kong Country 2 again. And it's not like we would not see that later on with things like the Game Boy Advance remakes of the Donkey Kong Country series. Like, here's Donkey Kong Country 2 again. You're going to see it from a different perspective. You're going to be privy to things you never knew happened before. So that is okay. You know, that's part and parcel for following a video game series. But my problem, my conundrum, if you will, with this is, and this is probably just the OCD riddled center of my brain, but we have Donkey Kong Land and we have Donkey Kong Land 3. There has to be a Donkey Kong Land 2 in the middle of those. There has to be that middle Donkey Kong Land, and it has to have its place in the timeline. So, famously, right, DK Vine, well, before DK Vine, me, me in my crazy youth, and then co-founding DK Vine in 1999, we argued for a fanon interpretation of Donkey Kong Land 2, where, yes, it's the events of Donkey Kong Country 2 all over again, but that's baked into the narrative, that's baked into the timeline. This is K. Rool repeating the events of Donkey Kong Country 2, perhaps as a do-over, as a make-good, because after the destruction of Crocodile Isle, after the near annihilation of the Kremlings, he's on the outs, right? Like, they want to instigate a coup d'etat against K. Rool. I mean, you can see why. It's a catastrophic failure of leadership. So, Donkey Kong Country 3, like, I already knew Donkey Kong Country 3's plot was the Kremlings have a new leader, and that leader's name is Chaos. So, when Donkey Kong Land 2 was coming out, trying to reconcile how to make this work, I said, okay, this is K. Rool trying to stave off the coup d'etat. It's effectively him going back and saying, we can make this right. I am going to fix everything. And if this fails, sure, oust me. I'll go into exile. And, of course, that's not in the text. That's not in the manual. That's not in any of the official publications. It wasn't on Rare's website. But I still think it kind of works, and it kind of works as a setup for Donkey Kong Country 3. So I still kind of hold true to it, because in my mind, Donkey Kong Land 2 needs to exist on the timeline. It's not just Donkey Kong Country 2 GBA. It's not just, here is a remake that is effectively the same adventure again. Donkey Kong Land 2 is a different experience. It is not just Donkey Kong Country 2 again. It is in plot, but it's not in the game, which we're about to explore. So, enough yapping. Well, I'm going to be yapping quite a bit more, but let's actually get into the game a little bit. This is, as you can see, Crocodile Isle, not destroyed. So how do I reconcile that? Well, in my fanon lash up, putting all these disparate plot elements together, as a kid, I said, okay, K. Rool used Kremlin magic to resurrect the busted, broken pieces of Crocodile Isle in this very tenuous Frankensteining of what it used to be. And yeah, we do eventually see K. Rool use magic, use spells in Donkey Kong Country 3, or at least it's implied off screen when he seals the Queen Banana Bird behind that barrier. So we also had the fact that K. Rool fell into the Kremlin source at the end of Country 2. So I thought, well, maybe he could have absorbed some of that life essence, and he can utilize it in magic to temporarily resurrect Crocodile Isle, or maybe even do things like give Crow, who died in Donkey Kong Country 2, give him a resurrection, give him a body again. A very limited use of the Kremlin source, and maybe he only had so much of it. Part of me also likes to think that Bleak the Snowman, he's got that little blinking life essence on his scarf. I like to think that's K. Rool. He put a little bit of Kremlin source into that scarf to bring that snowman to life. But this is Crocodile Isle back again. As you can see, the Gangplank Galleon is now on a different side of the map, of the overworld. It's now on the right-hand side rather than the left-hand side, and that's entirely consistent with Country 2, because as you can see, Donkey Kong Island is no longer in the background. It's a nice little touch. It is fun seeing these map screens from the Super Nintendo game kind of downscaled for the Game Boy. But I wish Donkey Kong Land 2 had new environments. I wish it had new worlds like Donkey Kong Land. Is Donkey Kong Land 2 a better game than the original Donkey Kong Land? Yes and no. I think it is a more technically proficient experience because they did build an entirely new engine for this. This isn't just the refitted Battletoads GB engine that Paul Makashek was using for Donkey Kong Land. This is a new engine. I mean, they bring back assets from Donkey Kong Land, but it is built from the ground up. It would be used for Donkey Kong Land 3. And so you don't get as many technical, we'll call them hinky-doos, that Donkey Kong Land had, like falling off the screen and just instantly dying. The play control is a little crisper. It feels a little bit more like Donkey Kong Country. But I think out of the 3 Donkey Kong Land games, not only is this the least interesting because it's effectively just these same environments, the same worlds, the same presentation almost as the Super Nintendo game, but I feel like the design of the levels isn't that elegant. I feel like it's trying to do too much like what the Super Nintendo game did, what Donkey Kong Country 2 did. And because of that, it's a little bit clunky. It's not suited to do what Donkey Kong Country 2 could do. And so I feel like it falls a bit flat. And here we are. This is Pirate Panic. Now, the levels are all laid out differently, so this is a different experience. They would have to be laid out differently for the Game Boy. But as you can see, like, this is different already. And what did K. Rool renovate? The Gangplank Galleon? Sure, he could have done that. So out of these 6 games, the 3 original Donkey Kong Country games and the Donkey Kong Land games, this is my least favorite. Do not misconstrue that as me not liking Donkey Kong Land 2. It's still part of my favorite series of all time, and I think there's a lot to like about this game. But it's just the least interesting of the 6. And I think it's the least fun to play. So I'll still play this over most anything else, but I think there's going to be elements of this DK Vine done slow playthrough that are a complete and utter slog. I don't know how long this is going to take me, if I'm honest. There are going to be things like trying to find hero coins where I am just stumped. So I'm not really looking forward to this one. I've got my streaming anxiety as it is, but this is just... It's made worse because this is a game I feel like I should be familiar with, and I've never been as familiar with Land 2 as I am the others. But we'll make the best of it, and I'll point out all the little interesting history nuggets and lore bits along the way. For starters, let's just look at the, I guess, backgrounds of Donkey Kong Land 2. As you can see, they're far less detailed than Donkey Kong Land. And everything's pared back to almost a minimalist standard. And while this was almost necessary to make it a more agreeable, enjoyable experience to play on original Game Boy hardware, I think in the context of 2025, it's less interesting to look at now than the original Donkey Kong Land. The original Donkey Kong Land is beautiful. It's honestly a technical marvel, and Donkey Kong Land 2 is as well. I mean, that's still Silicon Graphics workstation renderings of these characters. I think the characters, the objects still look really good. I just think the background environments were sacrificed a great deal, and it's just not as fun for me to just stare at this stuff. But, it's alright. It's alright. I think that's a warp barrel up there, so I'm not gonna bother with that. But see the little windows down there? Just always thought those were weird. Now, really quick, you can see the Kong letters now. They're not the spinning Kong letters of the Super Nintendo Donkey Kong Country 2 or Country 3, but they are also not the sparkly Kong letters of the first game and Donkey Kong Land, where they just kind of stay motionless, stay stationary. These are like textured like the spinning versions, but they are motionless. So here's what the teleportation looks like, switching in from Dixie Kong. It's just the little explosion sound visual effect, and we lost the ridiculous over-the-top teleportation effects from Donkey Kong Land. This is crisper, this is faster. I can see why they switched it out. I just missed the presentation of Donkey Kong Land. I miss all of the little flourishes from the original Donkey Kong Land, but I guess we can say that Funky tinkered with the teleportation devices and made them a little bit more elegant for the Kongs to use. And as you can see, the partner Kong is now displayed over on the right-hand corner of the heart screen, which is a wonderful touch. It's one of the improvements Donkey Kong Land 2 brought to the trilogy. Banana coins are in there as currency. And there's our first... Oh, they're really going to make me use Dixie. Okay. It's weird that that's the first bonus area and you have to use Dixie. But okay. Find a token. So look how small the Krem coins look. It is cool to see the Country 2 elements kind of recontextualized in this way. I don't hate it. I love Donkey Kong Country 2. And here we've got the star barrels introduced in the Donkey Kong Land series for the first time, replacing the like starry medallions that would then give you a thumbs up. I miss those. Oh, check this out. Check this out. Diddy Kong. Diddy Kong holding an object. Okay, you move, Diddy Kong looks normal. You stop, he becomes this scrunched up, dried up piece of fruit. He becomes like a raisin. And I'm like, why? What happened? Drop it, he's fine. Pick it up, he scrunches. It's just an optical illusion of how he looks while holding an object, but oh, it's really weird. Like Dixie doesn't do that. But I think it's just like they curve his tail and his kind of hat brim goes behind, so nothing clips. But it's weird. I don't know. It's weird. A lot of weird little things about this game. Now, of course, you can hear that music. Grant Kirkhope got his start at Rare, reinterpreting the David Y soundtrack from Donkey Kong Country 2 for Donkey Kong Land 2. So this is where Grant Kirkhope first got his in at Rare. And there we got our first hero coin. Gary Richards did game design. Gary Richards would become a rock star in his own right. Currently at Playtonic, is widely viewed as one of the key architects of Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. So please do not take any criticisms I might have of this game as an indictment against anybody who worked on it. And again, I still really like Donkey Kong Land 2. It is a Rare Donkey Kong game. End of level targets are a little bit different from Country 2. They now have no prizes and they just spring the Kongs up into the sky. I, again, like that it's something different. I do miss the portals of Donkey Kong Land. The only thing about Donkey Kong Land I don't really miss is the way the game saved, using the Kong letters to save your progress. So it's one of those things where they wanted more fidelity for or with the Super Nintendo games, but I feel like it sacrificed a lot of what was Donkey Kong Land's unique, very unique identity. And I think they could have just been different. I don't see any reason why you had to just carry everything over, even if you were doing a more faithful Game Boy version of a console game. And why did they just do a more faithful version of a console game? Why didn't they just make this a separate adventure for Diddy and Dixie? And I think there's probably a couple reasons for that. One, the way Donkey Kong Country 2 ended would have made that harder. I mean, it's just like, here's the other Crocodile Isle, here's this story that removes Donkey Kong from the equation, but I don't know, like, Again, some of the layouts of Donkey Kong Land 2, these levels, they are a labyrinth. They are a maze. You get a little bit of it here in this version of Main Brace Mayhem, but I think it's really the water levels. The water levels in this game, I do not like. I dread the water levels. Ironic, because Lockjaw Saga plays over so many of the regular levels as well. It's kind of a meme at DK Vine. It's a running joke how much you hear Lockjaw Saga throughout Donkey Kong Land 2. See, I'm struggling right now. I'm trying to look at all these little corners and crevices, trying to make sure I don't miss anything, because I do not have this game committed to memory like I might a country game. So I'm just kind of tentatively roaming around, trying my best to discover things, and I'm probably going to miss things along the way. If I do miss things along the way, oh well, I'll go back and I'll explore. But okay. See, if this was the first Donkey Kong Land game, though, that would just kill you. You would just slide off the screen and you would die. So there are improvements, for sure. And hey, like I said, Donkey Kong Country 2, my favorite game of all time. I do not mind seeing more of its elements, you know? Because for as beloved as it is, we don't really get a whole lot of it. We get Donkey Kong Country 2, we get Donkey Kong Land 2, there's little references and homages in Donkey Kong 64, and that's really it. That's really it. I mean, yeah, K. Rool breaks out his pirate hat and blunderbuss in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is great, but if you really like the pirate Kremlings, if you really like this iteration of the Kremling crew, then you really have to play Donkey Kong Land 2 to get your fill. Here we have Cruncha. They do get angry, they do get mad, but you just don't see them turn red, obviously. I missed the bonus area. Clearly, I missed the bonus area, so I'm gonna have to go back in. That's fine. Like I said, I don't know how long this is gonna take me. This is going to be an experience playing through this, because this game is sometimes it's very easy to get lost in these levels. These levels are almost too big. They're too wide for what this game is, and the way it hides its secrets doesn't feel fair in the same way that the Super Nintendo games would hide their secrets. Because of the limitations of the Game Boy screen, and because of what Donkey Kong Land 2 is trying to do, because it's trying to be like Donkey Kong Country 2, and it just doesn't have the screen real estate to pull it off, so it hides its secrets in the corners, but it's not always fair about it. It doesn't always tip you off that, yeah, there's something over here, and you should check it out. And, yeah, it's inelegant. Oh, there's the bonus. Can I reach it? Yeah, I can. Collect the stars, okay. You get a lot of people, especially around the turn of the millennium, who criticized, Rare's Donkey Kong games. Okay, well, wow, I botched that. Oh, that was bad. It's fine. Just go back in. And, you know, they said it had poor game design or whatever, which is just not true. It's patently not true. I know it's all subjective, but if you think that, you're wrong. But maybe they just played Donkey Kong Land 2. Maybe that's the problem. Anyway, let's check in with a live stream. Cure Infinity says, Kirkhope really did a good job translating the soundtrack to GB. I love this Gangplank Galleon version. And there goes Lockjaw Saga. Yeah. Kirkhope did a great job. I do miss the original elements. I think that is my problem more than anything, right? It's Donkey Kong Land 3 really doesn't do a whole lot different. Donkey Kong Land 3, it just got smart with the way it was presenting it. It had different world names and level names. It had different map screens. It had a different storyline. It kind of mixed things up in a way that it felt like a fresh experience. Whereas Donkey Kong Land 2, it does have original layouts for the levels, but it presents it in an old context. And because of that, you feel like you're kind of going through the motions a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I think back to Donkey Kong Land, and I think back to, you had those redos of the David Wise and Evely Novakovic songs from Graham Norgate. But then Graham Norgate also was able to do original songs, which are, like I said, they're bops. They're just great experiences. I don't want to go in the warp barrel. That's my biggest, it's not a fear, but it's one thing I always have to watch out for when I'm exploring these early levels in a Donkey Kong Land sequel. Is like, I don't want to just stumble into a warp barrel. I want to play the whole damn level. So don't take me in a warp barrel. But I also don't know where the regular secrets are, so I have to I have to be very cautious and tentative, and yeah. I wish I had Donkey Kong Land 2 committed to memory, but it's a very hard game to commit to memory. I also had only 2 months to play this before Donkey Kong Country 3 came out, whereas with Donkey Kong Land, I had the entire summer, effectively. And there, that Cruncha killed me. That's a well-placed Cruncha for that, though. I'll give them that. They got me good. And yeah, I feel like once Donkey Kong Country 3 came out, I didn't really revisit Donkey Kong Land 2 as much as you would think. And I would play it here and there over the years. And then, you know, when it came to the eShop, and then now on Nintendo Switch Online, but I don't know. I think to the US office, their last Christmas episode, where Dwight dressed as the holiday character Belschnickel from, like, Dutch Germanic traditions, and Jim from the office says, oh, he's like Santa, but dirty and worse. Donkey Kong Land 2 is Donkey Kong Country 2, but dirty and worse. And I think that makes it interesting in its own right, you know? These always bug me. Like, this is a door I should be able to go through. But I can't. You can't go through that door. It's just an open door, but maybe don't put an open door there if you can't walk through the open door. Why can't you walk through that open door? Is it just painted on like a Looney Tunes thing? Here's something interesting. Rambi's first appearance. And the first time that Rambi does not appear in the first level. Now, Rambi isn't quite as shiny and oily looking as he is in Donkey Kong Land. He still looks good, though. And you notice he transforms into Rambi. So this would start the trend where Rambi, Ingard, Squawks, Squitter, Radley, Quawks, Ellie in Donkey Kong Land 3, you would only transform into them in the land games. You would not actually get to ride them. And this was probably done for the limitations. I mean, Donkey Kong Land, you rode them, and you'd get the sprite flickering, and they're just like, okay, we're just going to have you transform into the animals. And that would then continue into the Game Boy Color version of Donkey Kong Country. I'm not as much of a fan of this. I like being able to ride the animal buddies rather than having the animal buddies just kind of take over. But I will be glad to see the animal buddies no matter what. So it's better than just not using the animal buddies. So it's a minor nitpick. Although I don't feel like Rambi does much here in Gangplank Galley. It just kind of to get you acquainted with Rambi, but things like his supercharge are in the game. So you press select, you hold it down, you can supercharge, just like you can on the Super Nintendo. But the supercharges are sort of pointless, because look, oh, I'm going to break through that door, right? I've got the supercharge. Clearly, just like in Pirate Panic in Donkey Kong Country 2, I'll be able to supercharge into a bonus area. Wait, no. No. It's generally not. And this is sort of the era where they really are phasing out breaking through walls to get to bonus areas. It really just stops being a thing here. Through Country 3, through Land 3. It was barely a thing in Country 2, if we're honest, but it was still present and accounted for at times. And yeah, like, thanks for showing up, Rambi, but that's it. That's all you do. Okay, I don't... Yeah, there's a hero coin, but I think it's on a next set of hooks, maybe? This set of hooks? And there's the... Yeah, so you can see it's a 2-for-1 special there. So we'll just go there. We'll go back. We'll go into the bonus barrel. To destroy them all. Okay, I will. Or I'll try. So despite my own clunky gameplay, my lack of proficiency, this does control a whole lot better than Donkey Kong Land. I will give it that. And maybe one of the reasons they did not try to concoct new worlds, new levels, a new story is because they were so busy with this engine and getting the feel of this right for the Game Boy. And I mean, you know, props to them. They did a great job. I just miss the new stuff. And I do wish they would have brought back stuff from Donkey Kong Land, like the continue points, like the portals, just the little things that give Donkey Kong Land a separate identity from Donkey Kong Country. I really like that stuff. I was expecting that stuff to be back, and it was really disappointing to see them standardize everything. But here we have our first Kong helper in the Donkey Kong Land series. Wrinkly's first appearance on the Game Boy, her second appearance in total. A little trivia fact, as I brought up when I talked about the first Donkey Kong Land, despite Cranky playing a prominent part in that game's story, he never appears. No Kong helpers appear in that game. And in this game, his wife is here, Bunky is here, Cranky does not appear at all. Neither does Swanky, for that matter. And Cranky does not appear in Donkey Kong Land 3 either. So Wrinkly is the only Kong helper who appears in both sequels for Donkey Kong Land. A little interesting. I remember thinking how cool it was when I saw the screenshot of this in Nintendo Power. Well, not this, but Kong College. Of course, it didn't look like this. This is with the Game Boy Color effects plastered over, so it just looked yellowish in the screenshots in Nintendo Power. But I was like, oh my, that's Kong College, but it's different. It's less curved. It's more flat in the background. This is what Kong College looks like after it's been rebuilt through Crumbling Magic, after sitting on the bottom of the ocean for 9 months. So it was just cool to see, like, as a Donkey Kong fan, especially in the context of 1996 when it came out. I might have said 1995 earlier. Apologies. It came out in 1996, based on Donkey Kong Country 2 from 95, September 96. But it was only the 4th rare Donkey Kong game, the 4th modern Donkey Kong game, the 4th DKU game. And it was still really exciting to see things like Dixie Kong and Wrinkly Kong on the Game Boy. That was new, that was fresh, that was exciting. And I don't know, like even now I still get a thrill, although not as much now that like there's no like handheld counterpart, there's no disparity between platforms anymore. Like, but for the longest time, I would get a thrill seeing a character like on a new platform. It would be really cool, like seeing the Kongs made from polygons for the first time on the N64. It's always a treat. Oh, Lockjaw's Locker, Lockjaw Saga once again, and the first water level in the game. This one isn't as bad as the real brutal ones, the real slogs, the ones that you just struggle with are Clapper's Cavern and Glimmer's Galleon. Or excuse me, no, Lava Lagoon. Well, Clapper's, but Lava Lagoon is what I'm thinking of in particular, the first Clapper stage. Here we have Flotsams back, although technically their second appearance in Donkey Kong Land after Wild Sting in Donkey Kong Land. So as you can see, this is going to be a maze. This is going to be a labyrinth. And you got all these like areas where you can plausibly swim through. But that might be to the warp barrel. I think it's too early for any legitimate bonus areas. So yeah, it's very, very easy to get lost in these water levels. And at least right now, the water isn't turning red hot. It isn't continually pitch black. So I don't have any time crunch here to explore, and I can explore to my heart's content, but don't like the water levels in this game that much. But at least Enguarde's here. This is Enguarde's Donkey Kong Land series debut. And as you can see, I'll demonstrate this for you right here. He does have the supercharge. Doesn't really do anything, but he has got the supercharge. Again, like, how do I get down there? This is probably going to be from the other side. The arrows, you want to follow them, but at the same time... Oh, there's the hero coin. Terrific. I feel like the arrows, the banana arrows, they're always used to misdirect in this game, rather than legitimately help you. Like, you follow them. Oh, is this actually going to be using the supercharge? No, it's not. I thought... I was pointing there, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to break into... Maybe I spoke too soon, but no, there's nothing there. These little pockets of just bananas and banana coins. Just like in Country 2, saving your game after the first save in a world does cost 2 banana coins. The first rental from Funky is 2 banana coins, and then it's free after that, but... Like, there's no Cranky, there's no Monkey Museum, there's no Swanky, Swanky's Bonus Bonanza, so that's all you use the banana coins for in this game. And saving is still vitally important, although now with save states, you know, it's obviously not what it once was, unless you're just trying to play truthfully to 1996. Enguarde would have come in handy in the original Donkey Kong Land, Nautilus Chase in particular, but as I said in my playthrough of that game, I did really, really appreciate that Espresso got his time to shine. well, that was pointless. That was a whole lot of fanfare for nothing. Ooh, bananas, thank you. Where would I ever find bananas in a Donkey Kong game? You get so sick of this music. This... and it's no slight meant towards Grant Kirkhope or his arrangement of this song, but the fact that it's then used for the rigging levels, and it's a bit much. And I love Jib Jig. I can understand they couldn't translate every song from Country 2 in this, but this one really does great after a while. Once you hear it and you pay attention to it, you can't unhear it. And it becomes a little bit obnoxious. Again, the characters look great in this. And the like, elements of like the frames of the level, like these barrels, these crates, that all looks great. You just get the very limited backgrounds then. You see how like the walls of the ship hull here, it's only very sparsely detailed. So you've got the little lanterns here, you've got some of the wood planks and windows, but then it's just a white void between. And again, that was the right call to make. 100. I was going to say 102%, but I think this game is just 100%. So it was the right call to make for 96, but playing it now on the Nintendo Switch in 2025 is less interesting to look at. Although I can't imagine how nightmarish playing these water levels would have been with all of that detail in 1996. So it's only a complaint you could make from the vantage point of today. It was the right call for the time it was decided upon. There might not even be a bonus area in this level, now that I'm thinking about it. It's really inconsistent in Donkey Kong Land 2. Not every level will have a bonus area. Some will only have one. Some will have... oh, a cog. Great. Some will have two. It's nothing you can really depend on, which makes the discovery aspect of it frustrating. I think the DK barrels look great, though. They look more faithful to their Super Nintendo presentation. Again, this game looks really good. I am impressed with how this game looks still. I just, will always think Donkey Kong Land is the best looking of the three. This definitely plays better. This definitely plays better, but yep, no bonus area. I was right. Whew. Lockjaw Saga. Here we are. All right, let's. I hate this because there's two paths to take. Which one do I take? What is this? What is the point of that? I guess you could take a shortcut, but I don't want to take a shortcut. I want to play slowly. Bradley does have his super jump, as you can see. This is Radley's second appearance and his last, at least as far as being a playable character in the Donkey Kong series. Of course, this is only the beginning of Radley's long, coiled legend, for he would be referenced in many games to come, including Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario Odyssey, of all things. Oh, and bye, Radley. This is structured very similar to the one in Donkey Kong Country 2. Oh, there's a 2-for-1. I was trying to do the thing where your foot just clonks them on the head. It wasn't down there. I was looking for the bonus barrel. It wasn't down there. It's fine. We'll get to spend more time with Radley, which is never a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's something we enjoy. We appreciate more Radley. Alright, let's do this, but do it correctly this time? Yeah, let's do... Well... I appreciate that the cannonballs don't just despawn and screw you over. It's one of the fears about playing a game like this from this era is it gonna work right? But no, this is a technically proficient game. Okay. Okay. You can carry the click-clacks, and look, that's the grossest thing I've ever seen. Diddy holding that click-clack while being a shrunken little raisin. It's horrifying. Let's look at that again. Ugh. The little legs wiggling, and he's like aging before our eyes. It's just like a cockroach that drains the life out of you. You're sleeping at night and a cockroach scuttles across your face and you wake up and you've aged 40 years. Also, Diddy's defeat animation, he looks like he's bobbling his head. Like he's, I don't know, it looks weird on the Game Boy with the more limited animation frames. Try to get to the star barrel this time, though. Now that we got the bonus area, I don't need to go back over there. Of course, I'm looking for... Okay, I'm just backtracking now. I'm looking for the hero coin, of course. I feel like in these rigging stages, the hero coins are just placed in odd, out-of-the-way corners of the map that are often down and removed from where you once were. I need to have more patience. I'm just barreling ahead and always running into a click-clack or something. It is weird to be on the Gangplank Galleon again, given the degree to which it played in the first Donkey Kong Land game. Of course, now this is far more similar to what we're used to. There are no slippas sliding down ropes or anything, but we've done this before in the Donkey Kong Land games on the Game Boy. Oh, okay, so there's an invincibility barrel. I think it's because you gotta go through these. There are hero coins somewhere around here. Probably I just, well, wasted all the time. Probably looking in the wrong place. Or maybe it was just to help us get through all those clingers. I don't know. Okay. And yeah, you can just charge through the clingers a little bit if you time it just right. Of course, it is not raining in this level. Like the original visit to Topsail Trouble. I'm gonna try to get away from saying version because that just makes it sound like it's a remake. There's the hero coin. And I like to think of this as a separate adventure. So this is just a revisit to the general nasty area of the Gangplank Galleon that once held the original Topsail Trouble. When we visited it back at the end of 1995, it was raining then. It's not raining now. And why would it be? It's a completely separate day. Well, I hate that. You drop down and there's a light balloon that pops up, but then... whoops, you're already in the barrel. There's no way to get it. Alright, who's ready for Funky Kong? Funky's Flights. So, it's not Funky's Flights 2. And maybe they decided not to use that branding because there was no Funky's Flights in Donkey Kong Land. I rationalize it, right? I rationalize it because Funky's Flights 2 was a separate business that Funky started as a flight service on Crocodile Isle. When Crocodile Isle was destroyed originally, Funky shuttered that business. He was like, well, okay, I've lost all of those airports, I've lost those planes. That is a tax write-off. Tax official Tiny Kong will give me my money back for that. The insurance money will cover it. I don't know how it works. I don't know how finances work. But when Crocodile Isle was temporarily resurrected by K. Rool and these airports were back, Funky couldn't just bring back Funky's Flights 2. He had to bring it back under the umbrella of his regular Funky's Flights business. So there you go. There is a little bit of evidence that Donkey Kong Land 2 is, in fact, a separate adventure. We'll stumble across a few of those along the way, and I'll point them out and say, see, clearly they were alluding to the fact that this is the fourth adventure, setting up Donkey Kong Country 3. Anyway, it's interesting the barrel plane is in the background of Funky's Flights here, where, again, we never saw that in the original Donkey Kong Land. So this is its only appearance in the Donkey Kong Land series, that original barrel plane in the background there. I feel like we see it more often than not just shuttered in the background of Funky's Flights, rather than actually seeing it in service. Because it would also be in the background of the Game Boy Advance remake of Donkey Kong Country 2. So anyway, now we can rent this plane whenever we want. And here's Crow's Nest. Here is the fight with Crow, the rebodied Crow. The temporarily resurrected Crow. Or maybe permanently resurrected Crow, I don't know. Because, well, we'll get to it when we get to Creepy Crow. But you could make the case that he doesn't die in this one. That Diddy and Dixie don't break his neck with his eggs. You see, this is reformulated. This is a little bit of a different boss fight against Crow than we got on the Super Nintendo. For one, you can't reach the actual Crow's Nest. And he just passes out. He's like, you know, honestly, I would pass out too. I would just feign defeat if I've already died once. Right? Just play dead. You know, I'm not going to risk that again. If I get a second go-around, if I'm Superman fighting Doomsday once again, I'm just going to play possum. Like, I know how this goes. I didn't like it the first time. Let's just skip to the part where I die, but this time not really. So Gangplank Galleon is complete. Now, here we are, the second world, but what's this then? Krem Cauldron. Not Crocodile Cauldron. Not Krem Key. Krem Cauldron. This is a portmanteau, a mashup of Worlds 2 and 3 in Country 2, reformulated as one world, the classic archetype of Swampy Volcano. Why did they do this? I don't know. I've never really heard an explanation. The only theories I have are memory issues. They didn't have the memory to actually display another world. And so to rectify this, they would just make it one. Make it one, cut out a boss fight, and present it as the second world. But a massive, massive world, because it does have the levels from both. And this is, I think, where the game really drags. Krem Cauldron, I think the game picks up after Krem Cauldron. If I'm honest, I think Kremland, Gloomy Gulch, K. Rool's Keep, everything thereafter, that's pretty fun. I think Krem Cauldron is where people fall off Donkey Kong Land 2 because of some of the levels, because of some of their designs. It's no more dreary than the other levels because it's Donkey Kong Land 2 on the original Game Boy. But yeah, I don't think this is the game at its best. So we will not get through Krem Cauldron today. This is probably going to be a thing where I get through a few of the levels, maybe the volcano ones, the original Crocodile Cauldron ones, but I don't think I'm going to get through the Krem part of Krem Cauldron. But yeah, the volcano's also now on the other side from where the swamp was, and vice versa. Again, this is what K. Rool had to do when he was reviving Crocodile Isle. He only had so many raw materials to work with, right? Because so much of it was obliterated when the island went up. So he had to pull elements from the base of the island to reconstruct your Gloomy Gulches, your K. Rool Keeps, and that meant he had to then combine Crocodile Cauldron and Krem Key, kind of rearrange them a little bit. So that's what we get here. That's what we get here. By the way, I'm checking in with a live stream. Hello to Me Muppet. Hello to Giga Strike. Hello to March Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Middle of the work week, and you're watching me play the second Donkey Kong Land game. And the one that people don't really like as much. Now, some people swear by this game, and they think it's the best Donkey Kong Land game. So, to each their own. God, I hate the shrunken Diddy. I hate the little it's just, why? That being said, I think the volcano levels are some of the best in this game, because they find that happy middle ground between, or happy background in this case, between having details in the background but not having it overwhelm the characters and the sprites. So, yeah, you even get the little bubbling lava. That's great. That's lovely. I love the stalagmites in the foreground there. Great little touches. Oh, and we got a backwards arrow. Oh, how do I get to that? Well, I certainly can't reach it with a Kong. No matter how fancy my footwork, it's just not reachable. What do I do? What do I do? Well, I think we're just going to have to table this for now. I think we're just going to have to trust the process. Ah! Because you can't decipher their color, I was legitimately not expecting that one to bounce me up. Who is it? Squitter! Yes, the best animal buddy, in my opinion, is back for a second appearance. Now, you might notice that Squitter is far less detailed here. His elaborate orange and brown coloring is nowhere to be seen. He just looks like a smooth, slightly two-toned spider, but you don't get his regular patterns displayed because of the Game Boy limitations. But it is Squitter all the same. And see, look, the game's trying to lie to you. Go that way. Well, yeah, but you already told me to go this way, so I'm going to go this way. Now, Squitter, because of the limited buttons on the original Game Boy, they've consolidated Squitter's mechanics. So, the projectile webs used to defeat enemies are also now your platform webs. You have to press select to turn it into a web platform. And this takes a little bit of time getting the hang of, especially if you're used to the way Squitter controls in Donkey Kong Country 2 and Donkey Kong Country 3. In some ways, though, well, not there, because I just botched that, but in some ways it is preferable. I can see it both ways. It's not as varied in its gameplay as the Super Nintendo version, but this almost feels a little bit more economical and less convoluted and complicated. It can take a while to get a handle on Squitter in the Super Nintendo version. He's ultimately the most functional and fun animal buddy, but you really have to get a handle on how to make his web platforms and to do it in a way that serves your interest. And here it's a lot more blunt. It's just, okay, there's one way to make webs. And you can like choose how far the web platforms shoot out. But once you get the handle of Squitter on the Super Nintendo, coming back to this can be cumbersome. And of course, his web platforms only go so far before they just dissipate into thin air. Well, sure. Let's just double up on Squitter essence there. It's a good thing to remember, though, that that's there. If I do fall into the lava, I can just go back and get Squitter. Whoa! Clobber really bounced me back there. Okay, well, I know I said the arrows lie to you sometimes, but I think it's clear that it wants me to go up, right? Oh, just for an O, though. No. Ooh. I don't care about the Kong letters in this one. Did I miss the hero coin? I don't know. I don't know. That's the frustrating thing about this game is I don't know when I'm missing a hero coin, a bonus area. I mean, I know that's the point, right? They're not supposed to be easy. But I'm just not familiar with the layout here. Yeah, we are going to go back and we're going to get Squitter. And you know why we're going to get Squitter? Because I think the hero coin's up here. I realized it as soon as I fell in that lava. I was like, you know what? There was that other arrow. And I poo-pooed it. I went... because I knew that bonus barrel was back there, but I wasn't taking into account that the hero coin was yet to be discovered. And we're just keeping to the stalactites. And what a lovely touch that they're there at all, right? Like, they did not have to put those in there, but they did. So, I know I said the backgrounds don't look as good as Donkey Kong Land, but they did do a wonderful job in these lava areas. Oh! Oh! Oh, come on! How did... Okay, I'm just getting sloppy now. Playing this in 1996. And again, I apologize if I said 1995 before. Don't yell at me in the eventual YouTube comments. I corrected myself. And if I didn't say 1995, then forget this bit. But play this game in 1996. It was very fun. I know I had my criticisms about, oh, I wish they would have carried this over from Donkey Kong Land. I wish they would have done something more original with it. But this was still a brand new Donkey Kong experience, more or less. And it was only the 4th game in the lineage at that point. And, I feel like, I don't know why I'm mistiming this so badly, but, these crockheads are giving me a run for it. When this came out in September of 96, like, it felt so exhilarating to have a new Donkey Kong game after a whole 9 months of waiting. 9 months without a new Donkey Kong game. Can you imagine? It was unthinkable at that point in time. It was referred to by early DK Vine as the Donkey Kong drought. Yes, 9 whole months without a Donkey Kong game. Now, of course, we would have longer waits later in the Rare era. Wow, that clobber fucked me up. The gulf between Donkey Kong 64, or the gulf to Donkey Kong 64 from Diddy Kong Racing was 2 years, but that was made a little bit more bearable considering that we had Banjo-Kazooie in between, and, you know, Donkey Kong did start appearing in all of those cameo games in 1999, but yeah, once upon a time, 9 months between Donkey Kong games was an eternity. And getting Donkey Kong Land 2, I was like, oh, finally. Finally, it's a new adventure. Finally, we can return to, well, we didn't know it as the Rare Archipelago at the time, but so even though this felt very familiar and felt very much like more of the same in some ways, it was still almost a revelation to get to have Dixie Kong on the Game Boy in a new adventure, and it was not something that I took for granted, even though I was privately, secretly, a little bit disappointed that it was not as ambitious in its storytelling as the first Donkey Kong Land game was. Now, Canon's claim, this is the first mine shaft level, and the mine shaft levels, if I recall, are almost as frustrating as the water levels in that they are big old mazes with far too wide a screen. And so you're just going around, you're trying to figure out which platform is housing a secret and which is just part of the natural progression. What's a red herring? I don't like these all that much, but they are far more tolerable than your water levels are, so it's like, yeah, so like, yeah, this maze of barrel cannons. I'm like, okay, could there be a hero coin down there? I don't know. I think Dixie is the one to use here because I can use her helicopter hairspin to the very least recover from any poor choices I make, barring, you know, hitting a zinger or a neek or just running into a neek. The little neek going off screen where I can't get it. That's not fair. Okay, I should probably get that star barrel, so I'll just have a point of continuing, but this might be one of those levels where I just have to revisit it after I beat it and just use the old start and select system. That O is pointless. I know it's just trying to portray mineshaft, but the way the background is textured here, it just makes me think the walls are really, really dirty. There's a bonus barrel. Okay. Right? It just looks like a very decrepit shithole. Like a roach motel or something. Which really helped sell, like, the notion that maybe Crocodile Isle was underneath the ocean for 9 months, and it's been shoddily resurrected using arcane Kremlin magic and Kremlin life source energies. Oh, what was that? What was that? I saw... No, I saw something. I saw something down there. I need to investigate. Ah, I gotcha. I got you, hero coin. Don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay. Well, that's a load off my mind. Despite me not liking that there are the same items brought back from Donkey Kong Country 2. Hey, mini Necky. I think they're just called Neckies in the credits, though. Presumably because all the adult Neckies perished in the Crocodile Isle catastrophe, so that it's just... The mini Neckies are now just the oldest Neckies. Despite me not liking that, like, so much of this game is just carried over from Country 2 and the items are the same, it is always nice to see the hero coins. They are just in my mind, the most perfect collectible in any video game. Oh, and it is Canon's claim, so there is a cannon. No, I have to avenge Dixie. I have to avenge Dixie. No. There we go. There we go. Wait, could there be another bonus area, though? Probably not. That's probably it, right? That's probably it. Is it it? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. That's it. I got the exclamation mark. And I say that, and I'm all jazzed, and I'm like, I did it. I beat Canon's claim. Yeah, I found everything in that mine shaft. It didn't trick me. I did it. And now I'm at Lava Lagoon, and I'm hating my life. I'm hating my life choices. I'm hating that I'm streaming this game. I'm hating that I'm gonna have to play this level in front of people, because this and Glimmer's Galleon are my least favorite levels in any Rare era Donkey Kong game. I'm not talking about the originals. I'm not talking about the ones from Donkey Kong Country 2. I'm talking about these iterations of them. This revisiting of Lava Lagoon. I hate this. I hate this level. And it's really hard to say, as a big friend of Clapper and FOC, I love Clapper. Clapper is, I think, a better video game character than Mario and Sonic and all the little Tetris blocks. And yeah, I think that Clapper, I should be happy to see him, but this level, I don't like this level. This level is bad. So I'm trying to show what the water looks like. So okay, now the water went clear. Okay, so the water's cool. Let's watch it turn here. This might take a little bit longer to turn because this is the first Clapper appearance. So Clapper has more in his lungs at this point. He can cool down the water faster. But now the water's turning red hot, and it's hot. And now that will kill you if you are in the water when it turns. So we have to, just like in Lava Lagoon in the Super Nintendo game, we have to make sure we get out of the water before it turns red hot. That's all well and good, again, but this is a maze down here, and if you want to explore, if you want to find all the bits, you don't have very much time to do so. So it creates this panic situation. And I saw something down there, but it could also be accessed from this side. The way this is all laid out and organized and structured, it is... Ugh. So there's Engard. Maybe that was what I was seeing. But I don't even know if Engard's the best option right now. Engard can swim faster, sure, but I'm going to have to get out of the water ASAP. So just becoming Engard is it's not something you can enjoy. Because look, the water's turning already. I don't think they give you enough time in this version of Lava Lagoon to get out of the water before it's like, it's hot again. I wish they wouldn't have brought this level over. I wish they would have done something different. They do a couple completely original levels in this game where the version from Donkey Kong Country 2 would not work on the Game Boy. What's it? Rickety Race, they don't do Castle Crush. I think they could have left this on the scrap heap with everything else that they cut, but they did it. They did it. And again, what I might have to do is just beat this level. I might have to beat this level so I have the option to start and select when things get dicey. Oh, there. Okay, well, wasn't trying to find that, but sure. Find a token. This is one of those where the bananas do not help you, so you just have to ignore the bananas. But that being said, no, I just went in a circuit. This is a maze, and I've run out of time, so I'm gonna have to go back. Yeah, you did a really great job there, Puffed Up, of keeping me out. Oh, there it is. Okay. Probably overthought it. I'm probably just psyching myself up talking about how awful Lava Lagoon is in Donkey Kong Land 2. Probably not that bad. It's probably Glimmer's Galleon that I'm really lamenting. Glimmer's Galleon. I have stuff to say about Glimmer's Galleon. And probably a lot of time to spend there when we get there. Clapper looks great, though. Clapper's got all his little animations. You don't see the little gust of, like, lung air blowing out of him. But everything else is intact. It's a good showing for our friend Clapper, who does not get enough love and appreciation. Let it be known. Have you thought about Clapper today? If you haven't, then you are part of the problem. Just think about Clapper once a day. That's all I ask. That's all I ask from you. That arrow is probably lying to me, isn't it? Yeah. Alright, well, fine. Just cook me. Cook me, because I got the hero coin. That's what I wanted to get. There's still another bonus area in there. I don't like that there's 2. But it's fine. You know why? Because I get to spend more time with my friend Clapper. I'm going to try... Hey, what the fuck? I see you. Okay, well, I know where it is now. I just have to get over there. I'm trying to be more positive. There's a lot of negativity, and rightfully so, in the world right now. We're all feeling it. We're all feeling defeated and at wit's end. And I don't think a level like Lava Lagoon from Donkey Kong Land 2 should break me. So you know what? It's just an opportunity to spend time with Clapper the Seal, a better video game character than Master Chief. Why? Because he's a seal who can cool down the water. Alright, so maybe Lava Lagoon wasn't as bad as I made it out to be. Maybe it's just Glimmer's Galleon that I despise. No. I psyched myself out here. Okay. I was like, no, I don't need to get in guard. But you know what? What am I talking about? Of course I need to get in guard. It's in guard. I can't complain about Enguard not being in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and then not use Enguard in Donkey Kong Land 2, because all I'm going to do is show Nintendo and whoever's developing the next Donkey Kong game, whether it's Nintendo EPD or not, that we don't need Enguard. And we do need Enguard. We need Enguard, damn it. So I'm going to use Enguard. Lava Lagoon's done. I really oversold that. I'm sorry. Red Hot Ride. Let's go. Let's just go. Let's just move on. Let's move on with this. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. It's a banana coin. You know what? We like banana coins. Banana coins are good. It is amazing they were able to make this level work in the Donkey Kong Land infrastructure. I don't know why. I would just assume that this would break on the Game Boy. I think I'm just simple. I'm a simple folk, and I'm easily impressed by things like the fact that you can press right or left on a big old balloon and it works. I just stare at my screen and I clap. I'm like, yay! Yay! It's working like it does on the Super Nintendo. There's Rambi. This is... Weirdly, I feel like Rambi is just... He's not... very prominent in this game. I mean, he still is. He's still the first animal... Okay, well, the balloon didn't work there. He's the first animal buddy you see. But I don't know. I feel like Rambi... This is the first time where it just feels like Rambi is just there. Because you expect him to be there. You know? He felt like he had a vital role to play in every... Even Donkey Kong Land. He's just one of 2 animal buddies, so it was kind of easy. But... yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the fact that he wasn't in that first level. He almost feels like an afterthought, especially in comparison to the other animal buddies that you can transform into. And of course, this would be his last appearance until Donkey Kong 64. A hiatus of 2 years and 2 months. Excuse me, 3 years. 3 years and 2 months. Math is just not my strong suit, ever, but especially today. I shudder to think what secrets I might be missing beneath. Okay, well that... I might have to go back. And look, I really want to break through these big old cave walls, but you can't. It's just not a thing. Oh, I see you, balloon. I see you, secret balloon, hiding over to the left. Just growing impatient with using the balloon, so... Ah! Got it. Got it. Ah. It is very satisfying to get those hero coins. Again, my favorite collectible. They're big, they're gold, they're shiny, they're 1 per level. And you feel so proud of yourself whenever you find one. For as much as I complain, for much as I gripe and groan about how they are hidden in this game, the feeling of euphoria when you do find it is the same as it is in Donkey Kong Country 2. Okay. Okay. And that's it. It's always weird to me, too. Can I just point out that whenever you have all this empty space to the right of these end-of-level targets, or end-of-level target springs, I forget which bullshit nomenclature I came up with to differentiate it from the Donkey Kong Country 2 versions, but you think, oh, there's going to be something hidden to the side here. There's going to be a little bit extra, a little something to grab, and then there's just not. It's just nope. It's just empty space. It's just fine. It's fine. It's fine. Squawks' shaft. Yes, we haven't seen Squawks yet in Donkey Kong Land 2, or the Donkey Kong Land series for that matter. So this is his debut. This is when Squawks was really on the rise as a character, as an animal buddy. I mean, Donkey Kong Country 2 really cemented him, but Squawks would then appear in both Land 2 and Land 3. So from there, like, Squawks has just never gone away. Even though he hasn't been as playable, he hasn't been as functional since Donkey Kong Land 3, like, barring, remakes, then it's still readily apparent how important he is because he's always used. He was used in Donkey Kong 64, he was in Donkey Kong Barrel Blast / Jet Race alongside Rambi and Engard, and of course Retro's games, they utilize Squawks, even if it was very perfunctory, even if it was very also ran. Squawks was still there. So, who would have thought that that little flashlight carrying parrot in that one level from Donkey Kong Country would become so important to the Donkey Kong brand? Okay. This is also a dirty mine, and it's going to be full of lots of little corners that I'm going to want to explore, and lots of little areas where I will inevitably die. So, look forward to that. Hey, it's Crook. Crook is such a fun baddie. No! Alright, that's the first death. It might be smart to just get to Squawks and then fly backwards throughout the whole level. But, I'm going to try to do it via Kong. And look, I can just take that barrel. I can just take that barrel cannon, and then I'm there. I'm impatient is the problem. I see a ledge, and I'm like, I want to get there. I'm not going to wait to see if the game's going to provide me a way to get up there. I'm just going to try. Because you don't know if the game will provide you a way to get to that ledge. You might be stuck afterwards, and then you're like, oh, damn, I really should have gone for that ledge. That is the dirty little design secrets of Donkey Kong Country games and land games, is you've got to shoot your shot when you first have it, or else you might miss your opportunity and then have to go back all around again. And I mean, I still ended up having to go back because I didn't actually successfully get to the end of this. This was a destroy them all. This wasn't a find the token. I'm gonna have to do this again. I wasn't actually dispatching the Neeks. I was just yammering on and on. And I wasn't paying attention to the instructions. It says destroy them all with 2 exclamation marks. And yet it did not enthuse me whatsoever because I completely didn't bother to read it. I just was like, I know what I'm going to do. I know what to do. And I didn't know what to do. I don't know anything, it turns out. Am I really an expert when it comes to Donkey Kong? Maybe not. If I didn't know this was a destroy them all. If I did not know that the first bonus barrel of Squawk Shaft, Donkey Kong Land 2, was a destroy them all, then what do I know at all? Seriously, it looks like these walls are stained with cum. And this would be 7 years before Rare would actually put in a level that's stained with cum on the Game Boy, or the Game Boy Advance in that case, but of course I'm referring to the Tip Top Suite in Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge. I guess it could be also smeared with shit. And Rare wouldn't do any levels that were smeared with shit until 4.5 years after this. So, I don't know. Am I going backwards? Am I going... Where am I going right now? My desire to explore all the various nooks and crannies of a level, it's just leading me to backtrack, and then I'm just going back to the beginning of the level. I love the little crook walking animation. I'm so glad that that's there. I'm so glad that, you know, you can see some of these pirate Kremlings in their full glory once again. They are such fun designs, and they are such fun characters. You can also see that zingers are a lot more faithful in that they're exact models from Donkey Kong Country 2. Unlike Donkey Kong Land, where they had their unique models, where they were, like, sticking their little stingers out. Although I could say they're a lot more faithful to their Donkey Kong Country 2 model, but I could also say they're unfaithful to their Donkey Kong Land model, because why should the Donkey Kong Country games be more important, be considered the pinnacle? Why must we denigrate the handheld games from this era? Is it because they're less popular? Is it because they sold less copies? Is it because they're not as technically impressive or beautiful to look at? Probably. Alright, Squawks. You can see Squawks can shoot his nuts all over these cum-stained walls. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry to talk about cum once again on a DK Vine stream. I need to really grow up. And yet I'm playing games from my childhood, from when I was at my most immature, so how am I ever supposed to grow up when the specter of my youth looms over me perpetually? It's also hard to be mature when you're playing rare games from this era. Granted, there's no grand immaturity in the Donkey Kong Land games. Like, they don't make any of their naughty little jokes. I'm not talking about the beavers, but it's just part and parcel with rare from this time period. And it's hard not to get swept up in it. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where to go. Could there be a bonus barrel over here? Like I said, this is just so much screen. So much in the way of a wide-ass level layout. Love shooting the crooks in their ass. It's satisfying on the Super Nintendo, it's satisfying on the Game Boy, it's satisfying on the Nintendo Switch. Still don't know where I'm going. Still don't know what I'm looking for. And I'm afraid I'm going to miss something, right? So when I was talking about the inelegance of Donkey Kong Land 2's design, this is what I had in mind. Stuff like this. This just... What is this? It's not even a maze, it's just... It's just a wide-ass mineshaft that you're trying to navigate back and forth, but you don't really know your general location relative to anything else. See, and there's a bonus barrel, but I don't really understand how that's hidden anymore than the rest of the level is hidden. But it's done. I got there. Squawks is a fun character, though, you know? Getting able to fly around, shooting off your nuts. He feels good. I know I laud Squidder and how much of a revolution Squidder is for a 2D platformer, getting to make your own platforms in a 2D platform game, but Squawks is really fun in these games as well. Alright, and there's Funky! Funky's Flights. Let's go ahead and rent from Funky. Again, there's really little purpose in the era of save states for utilizing Wrinkly and Funky, because Funky, of course, would enable you to just go back and stock up on lives, or if you got to Funky before you would get to a Kong College, then you go back into a previous world and save. It's not really necessary here. It's just an artifact of the game design, the traditional Donkey Kong Country style game design. But yeah, I'm always happy to see Funky. And this is Funky's only appearance in the Donkey Kong Land series, outside of any fanon you might want to insert, like Funky built the teleportation devices, the Kongs. I guess where on the wrist? I don't know. They do eventually have things like banana ports and tag barrels in Donkey Kong 64, which I think lends credence to that interpretation for the land games, that the Kongs are teleporting, that they're maybe going to some sort of nether realm when they're not on screen, some sort of black void where they're just waiting it out. But yeah, here we are. We're in the Krem Key, the traditionally Krem Key portion of the game here in Krem Cauldron. We are in the swamp. We are away from the volcanoes. Although I would imagine the smell, like the already like fetid smell of a swamp combined with the sulfur of the volcano would make this a really, really stinky environment, especially if it's been underneath the sea for 9 months. It's waterlogged. It's foul and disgusting. There's a bonus barrel. Okay. So we'll go in here. That feels very much like if there was a destroy them all bonus area in the first Donkey Kong Land game. Because the first Donkey Kong Land game would keep things like that to, more often than not, to just a very tight screen. And as we just saw in Squawks' Shaft, Donkey Kong Land 2 wasn't afraid to really just stretch things out like Goatsy. But I think that, you know, there are pros and cons for keeping it confined. I think Donkey Kong Land did make it work. I think Donkey Kong Land 2 stretching things out didn't make it work as often. But anyway, as you can see, the swamp isn't quite as detailed as the volcano areas. You get the little trees, you get the reeds in the background, but these are less visually impressive in my mind. But you still get the bubble of the swamp. That's a nice touch, at the very least. And again, with the Game Boy Color effects, I think the Donkey Kong Land trilogy just looks great playing it with the Game Boy Color effects. It really allows all of the sprite work to pop in a way that I don't think it ever really could. At least on the Game Boy, or the Super Game Boy, or the Game Boy Pocket. That banana's pointless, but I just wanted to get it. Just wanted to try. Do I go high or do I go low? Well, I could always go high and then go back. There's the O. As in, oh, I can't believe it's that low in the swamp. Crocodile Isle was always portrayed as a dump, even at its best, right? It's a little bit more hard luck than Donkey Kong Island. It's got those Sea of Thieves wild aesthetics versus Donkey Kong Island's more Shores of Plenty / Ancient Isles. Nature at its brightest and best vibes, where Crocodile Isle was dingy, and then you had the implication that it was polluted because K. Rool just doesn't care about the environment and protecting his own natural resources. And so Crocodile Isle was always supposed to be dingy and depressing from its most detailed presentation, but here in Donkey Kong Land 2, it really does seem like a colossal pile of shit, doesn't it? And I love swamps. I do love swamps. Gotcha, Hero Coin. I love a good bog, you know what I'm saying? But what did I do? Why did I do that? I was just talking about bayous and then I lost control. I really need to be Rambi if I'm going to attempt this. And Rambi's transformation barrel was right back there. Why didn't I just go back there? I made the point when it was Squitter. I'm clearly biased towards Squitter is the problem. I was going on and on about, oh, Squawks' shaft is so terrible. And then I was like, but I'm really having fun playing as Squawks. And then I was like, oh, Lava Lagoon, one of the worst levels in any Donkey Kong game. And then I just kind of breezed through it in comparison and didn't give Clapper his due. And here I just forgot to become Rambi again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the animal buddies who aren't Squitter. Really, truly. I'll try to do better on the next installment. Although the next installment will be starting with Glimmer's Galleon, so I'll just be in a foul mood from the get-go. I have to be very careful not to lose this. Okay. Squitter! Ask and ye shall receive. Although, I need to be quicker about this. That's kind of sad that that's all we get for Squitter. It's a lot of build-up. You see that no animal sign and you're like, oh, hell yeah. What animal friend awaits me? And it's Squitter for like 15 seconds. And you just take out a couple zingers and then no more Squitter. Although, I suppose it's possible that you could fall into the swamp, go back. Depends where they drop you, because if they drop you above the sign, then you just lose Squitter immediately. I was going to say, if you get dropped this way, could you backtrack as Squitter? I might have to test that out. Considering I clearly do not want to do Glimmer's Galleon today. I do not want to end the stream with Glimmer's Galleon. It might be something I could do as just a little science experiment. I did get all the bonuses, so I can just try to complete this stage. Or I could try it now, in fact. Sorry, Rambi. Sorry. Wow. That barrel cannon really carried Dixie far. Okay, we're going to try it. We're going to try this science experiment with Squitter. It could just drop you above the sign, and then there's no point, but I need to know. I need to know for sure. We're going to find out together, family. And you probably already know, all you Donkey Kong Land 2 experts in the audience right now, who are just rolling your eyes at my lack of internalized knowledge. You're probably like, I can't believe you don't know how this works, Hyle. Well, I'm sorry, okay? Some of us had to remember all the Brothers Bear 2 months after this game came out. I could not commit all of this to my memory. Okay, we're going to find out. See what happens. And that's it. It drops you above the sign. So you can't backtrack as Squitter. It's not in the cards at all. What a disappointment that is. My brain is working hard trying to think of workaround. There's no workarounds because you let time run out, you're still going to get dropped. There's no way to get out of the bonus area as Squitter and not get deposited right above that no animal sign. So it's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to be upset. I just really wanted to have more Squitter time. I'm craving Squitter time. It's been so long. I did it again. I mistimed it again. That's the second time that happened. Sorry, Ramby. Sorry, Ramby. Jeez. Again, part 2, I will do better. I will honor all of our animal buddy friends in equal measure. It won't just be the Squitter show next time. And if you think, well, you sounds like you're going to go pretty hard on Glimmer, Hyle. Well, don't worry. I'm not going to go hard on Glimmer because it's not Glimmer's fault that the next level is such a turd. Because Glimmer, in fact, is not in Glimmer's Galleon in Donkey Kong Land 2. Despite the fact that Glimmer appears on the Western box art for Donkey Kong Land 2, the only animal buddy who does, Glimmer is not actually in Donkey Kong Land 2, so. Get me out. I want more Squitter time. I want more Squitter time. I want to experience Squitter all through this level. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. I refuse to cross that no animal sign. You're going to have to force me over a no animal sign to make me give up being Squitter. Yeah, like that. Thank you. Alright, alright. I have to actually do this for real. I think what it is, right, why my brain is tripping up here is I'm not waiting for the barrel cannon because I see that string of bananas, which shows you where, you know, you need to time it for the other barrel cannon to be in line. But I see the string of bananas, I'm like, that's where I need to fire. So I'm not waiting. I'm not being patient. Because it's not about that string of bananas. That string of bananas is a deception. This, on the other hand, if you want the G, you actually have to go there. And that string of bananas, that is totally legit. That is accurate. That is, I mean, you could also just blast yourself onto the platform, but given how volatile the barrel cannons seem to be in Barrel Bayou, it might just shoot you right over. See, again, maybe a little bit of an inelegant game design there because you don't know that you can fire yourself to the right there. You have to actually ride it out in the barrel cannon below. Maybe it's not an elegant game design. It's just not game design 101, right? It's not what we're used to. It's not what we're weaned on to expect. Who am I to say that that's wrong game design, though? I don't think that's up to me. I don't know anything. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot who thought that Lava Lagoon was a miserable experience in Donkey Kong Land 2, and it turned out to be not entirely that bad. So, yeah, well, Glimmer's Galleon, on the other hand, mark my words, that is going to be awful, and we'll experience that next week. Next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. GMT, as I go through, in my opinion, the worst level in any rare Donkey Kong game. That's a 2D platformer. I'll leave Donkey Kong 64 out of the debate for now, but yeah, not a fan of Glimmer's Galleon in Donkey Kong Land 2, so thank you to Me Muppet, thank you to Gigastrike, thank you to Cure Infini, thank you to March Rose, and yeah, thank you to anybody on YouTube who tunes in after the fact. I'm Hyle Russell. Thanks for watching. I really do like Donkey Kong Land 2, by the way. Do not take my criticisms and my little bitching, my little gripes, as me saying I do not like Donkey Kong Land 2. Like I said about Clapper the Seal, Donkey Kong Land 2 is still better than any Mario game. It's still better than Tetris. It's still better than Halo. It's still better than The Last of Us. And I think that opinion will be held true when history is eventually compiled at the end of time. They're going to look back at Donkey Kong Land 2 and they're going to say, yeah, you know what? That's the worst rare Donkey Kong game, but it's still better than all of those other games that all of these publications are saying are the greatest games of all time. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, well, it was only trying to be what Donkey Kong Land 2 actually succeeded to be, which was very, very large and confusing, and you don't really know where to go, but at least you can explore that space. And isn't that fun? Isn't that freedom of movement fun? Well, it was fun in Breath of the Wild for sure, but have you considered Squawks' Shaft? I didn't get the hero coin in Squawks' Shaft. I completely missed the hero coin in Squawks' Shaft. I'm sitting here yammering about how this did Breath of the Wild first and better, and yet I missed the hero coin. Probably because of all that empty space, I didn't know where to look. All right, you know what? We're doing it. What I'm gonna do, right? I don't need to get this Krem coin. We're just gonna touch and yeek. We're gonna get bitten by a rat. I'm gonna find this hero coin and then I'm gonna end the stream, okay? Deal? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get to Squawks. I'm gonna get to Squawks and then I'm just gonna fly around. Because it doesn't gate you off when you're Squawks. It doesn't say, you can't go down there. I'm going backwards, aren't I? Yeah, again. Donkey Kong Land 2 is better than Breath of the Wild. But that's only because Donkey Kong is superior to everything. Unless, you know, it's like Banjo-Kazooie, then you're really up for a debate there, but... That's the O. I know. I just get the Squawks, transform to Squawks, and then you can probably easily get the hero coin from there. Just wait out the zinger. Okay. It's probably just in some bullshit place, right? It's probably... not anywhere intuitive, and that's fine, because once I become Squawks the Parrot, I can just go back, or I can go forward. I don't know where it could be. But you know what? I feel like I pretty extensively explored all of that space. So I'm just going to fly backwards until I see that big, shiny, golden piece of joy that is... the video game hero coin. Gotta be here somewhere. Really, really regret now saying how much this was like Breath of the Wild, but better. I was feeling cocky. That's what it was. I was feeling cocky because I thought I was done with Donkey Kong Land 2 for the day, and I didn't have to go back into Squawks' Shaft. Just gonna go down to the very beginning of the level with Squawks, because you can do that. It lets you do that. It's not like Squawks' Shaft on the Super Nintendo. Squawks' Shaft on the Super Nintendo, it keeps you from going back with Squawks. The floor prevents you from flying down. And so, like, look, I can be down here. I can exist in this space. What's the point? Well, it's cool that you can do it at all, isn't it? That's freedom of movement. This is a true open world game. Donkey Kong Land 2. Oh, what joy. But why did the video game critics not herald it as the revolution that it clearly is? Well, it's because they're biased. Let's be honest. They're biased and they hate Donkey Kong. But they really, really hate Clapper the Seal. There it is. It was just down here. Okay. Okay, well. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you for not hating Clapper the Seal, and thank you for not being biased towards Donkey Kong Land 2, which we're quickly learning was such a groundbreaking game experience that really it formed the basis of all modern gaming.